Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's October 31st. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this is a look at our daily chart with the envelope bands, and you can see it looks like we might have had a close outside a new high, and then we're trying to sell off. But this is not what I would call a real strong sell-off. We found some support here for some reason. You can see where today just opened up it, and now you can kind of see it's really off that band. We're kind of stuck between those bands. But what might be happening is I might have this a little too steep, and this might be more like this, and we might have still closed inside this trend line. So it's hard to know. I really thought I had it correct right here because I do go right off that first close there. But I could be off a little, and it might even be more like this. So I'm leaning more towards that, and that would explain too why we might have bounced right there as well. We'll see if we get any follow through selling here. So I mean, yeah, we were outside the trend line here, but we still closed inside it. So that does not count as a convincing close outside to lead to what we'd call a break of the trend line yet. So um, we may have some more to go to the upside. We'll just have to see. I mean, we really struggled today. Just kind of, I mean, this was a big rally day on Friday here, obviously. I wasn't here to trade, so I didn't see it. Um, and so Monday was just like a little consolidation day. So we could go higher yet still. We'll just have to kind of see. But let's flip over. You can see today looks pretty much like it does here. It was a kind of a bearish sideways day. So let's flip over there and we'll take a look and we'll go through the trades. Okay, here's our 2000 tick chart for the day, and you can see we had this trend working down, close outside new low. We trended up. We got a close outside. We tried to go higher and couldn't, and we just kind of chopped sideways the rest of the day. So we did get outside the overnight highs and lows, but I still would call this a range day. And you can clearly see the lows are down here. We couldn't even get back to the lows. We couldn't get back to the highs, and we just kind of chopped around the midline, closing closer to the lows than anything. So this was a hard trading day. It really was. I mean, it's hard to trade when you a range day when you don't consistently turn at the same place. And you can see we didn't consistently turn anywhere here on the highs or the lows. So after about 9:30, really all you could do is trade these channels and these short-term micro channels and things. So it's unfortunate, but that's just the way some days go. And this looks like a consolidation day. It doesn't look like a reversal day or sell off after making a new high. So I'm not convinced that we won't go higher yet. So we may be done. We may not be. We could be, but we may not. But most likely, we're probably not done to the upside. That's the way I would see it. So, but let's go through our trades. 7 o'clock came as we're working down here, and you got this channel. And you try to go higher, you basically got a low right there. You get a first entry, second entry, and you would expect prices to go lower here. I like going short right there. Quick, easy move. It bounces though. We get a move back up, close outside new high, and then a lower high. But that's technically that's a double bottom, so you could still look at that as a first entry, and then it tried to go higher and turn back down second entry. So. I like you could enter that on the engulfing bar. I'd probably wait for this to close and then go short one tick below it. I think that's the safer play there. Then we bounced, and we kind of went in this range here. I did mark this trade. Notice that we're making a lower high each time there, and that's a second entry short. We're not really looking for second entries in a little sideways range like that, and it is right in the midline. I marked it green. It's one you might take, but you got to be careful with it. I don't think you want to buy yet either. I'd wait on a higher low here before I bought, and you don't get that. It just runs straight to a high, kind of chopping along, and then it pushes up and you get your close outside. Um, we're really still kind of chopping sideways here. This is close to a failure. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry. It is a failed second entry, but it's not really a failure because it closes on the wrong side. It's one you might take because we are expecting prices to retest this low. I'm not crazy about it. It's not a reversal type setup that you're looking for. It's a failure, but it doesn't set up really nicely. It's kind of choppy and sideways, although there is plenty of room to this low. So maybe you take it. It's not a great setup. And of course, we're running down. We get a break, and you just get a first entry there. I think it's a little early to take a first entry. It's not a strong enough trend. It could be over because we already made a new low. So I'm going to want a second entry or something here, and you don't get it. Drops on down, bounces here a little bit, and here's a good example. Notice that we don't get a closing new high, but we make a lower high. And so maybe you take that lower high. Again, I marked it green because we've already got the break in a new low, so we could reverse or bounce at any time. So you got to be careful. But I think that as bearish as that is, and you got plenty of room, I think that's worth taking if you want to be a little aggressive. Then we turn up, close outside, a couple of legs to a new high, and we turn down again. No setup there, but finally we try to go higher once, twice. And because you do have enough room to this low, I'd probably take that failure because that's going to trap some longs, I promise you. You should get a scalp out of that, and it could take off, but notice we find support here. We bounce 3 times. There's no setup to go long on a triple test, but we do bounce there, and you just don't get a chance to join that one. It just takes off. There is another lower high here. I didn't mark this one. It looks a little congested, but you know why? Because they're trying to take it higher, and we're overdone. So the only reason I didn't mark this one is you'd want to wait for this to close, and there's a little bit of stem. It's still pretty bearish. I probably should make that one green. But if you wait a few minutes, you get a true reversal here. It pushes through, pulls back, test it. That's where I like going short. And you can see that was a nice move down until we kind of chopped. You get a break, and you get a couple of legs down, and we bounce again. But look how many times we bounce down here. As long as you got room back to that EMA, I'd probably take that trade. And so I like that one. Unfortunately, it doesn't tick lower there, so you don't get a true reversal. You could look at that as a higher low, but I think we've moved too far for that. So it tries to come back one more time, and again, that would have given you a reversal, but it just doesn't happen. Runs up, and then we start working lower. Again, you get what looks like it's a failed second entry, but it's not a reversal, and it's above the EMA. I just think it's too risky. We bounce here, and we actually confirm that trend line right here, but that signal bar is not good enough. That's a little bit congested. And you just don't get a chance on any of this really to enter. There's another little trend channel working down through here. And you get a close outside, move to a new low, and it bounces. But we don't even get back to the trend line there. We don't get a very good signal bar. Runs on up, and we start working sideways. I like this one just because it's a first entry, second entry, and it is a double bottom. Again, we're not back to the trend line, but that's twice we didn't get back, and we hadn't got back to the upper side yet. We didn't quite even touch it right there. So that leads me to believe, hey, this is probably the middle of a move, and we're probably going to move even higher. And I would look for at least something like that. You can see we went much higher than that. But here, you're just playing the range, really. So I think that makes it okay to consider we're not back to the trend line, plus the fact we didn't get back here either. Runs on up. It gets too choppy up here, too far away from the EMA. And unfortunately, when it makes a high up here, you don't get anything. Plus, this is looking like a pretty strong trend. So I don't think you'd want to go short up there anyway. And the bottom just drops out of it. You get a little trend working higher. You get a close outside, 2 legs to a new high. So technically, you could treat that like a 2-legged correction and take that short right there. The fact that there's room back, and notice where it's at, right at the midline. on the range. I like going short right there. You're going to probably retest as strong as that move was. You're going to at least attempt to retest this low. And this thing actually bounces down here and takes off again. And most likely that's an attempt to retest the high of this channel, and it just suddenly they sell it off again, and boom, it can't do anything. But I like this one because watch it going up. You actually start closing outside over here, and then you try to go higher and it fails and turns down. That far away from the EMA, you're probably going to shoot on back down here. You should at least get a scalp out of that most likely. I did mark it green because there's a lot of momentum right there, and it could tick lower and push up one more time before it goes down. So I did mark that one green. Lower high here, but it's right into the EMA. This is too choppy for a failure. And there's just nothing here all the way down until you make a triple test right here. But notice you got this channel working down, and you get a close outside, and you get several legs down, and then you make this triple test. Plenty of room back to the EMA. I like going long there. Maybe you'll catch the bottom. It does turn out to be the right level, but it's not. It's just a little early for the final bottom, and it comes back again. It doesn't give you a setup, and then it doesn't really give you a setup. I mean, you could consider this. This is a second entry, first entry, second entry, but that's just such a large bar. 20 ticks, you got to go long at the very high. That doesn't look like a reversal. There's just too much acceptance of prices here. It doesn't look like a reversal. No reason to think this is going to take off. Yeah, you would have made some money on it, but it doesn't take off, and there's no reason to think it would, because that's not what reversals look like usually. Not to say that you couldn't reverse out of there, but if you're going to try to trade it as a reversal, you want it to look like one. And you can see here it doesn't look like one, and it doesn't act like one either. We get another little two-legged correction with an extra push. Again, no real setup there. This is where it's really dangerous. Notice how we're chopping above and below the EMA, above and below. We're right at the midline. There's just not much here. There is a triple test right here, and I didn't mark it, but you might take that since there's plenty of room back, because this is obviously a little trading range, and it's probably going to at least go back to the highs again. So if you got enough room in there, maybe you take that trade. I wouldn't be taking anything above that just yet, because you see how quickly it fails. But this is basically a two-legged move up with a couple extra, and then you're just sideways again there. There's a couple extra little jogs there. It's basically two legs up, and then it just goes sideways, and then we break out and we come back and we test it again. And that's also, notice there's one little jog, there's one little one tick move up there, but to me that looks like a leg down with two swings in it. And then we try to go higher, and then we try to go higher a second time. So I like that as a failure. Even if you didn't, you could treat that like a triple test. Try to go higher once, twice, three times. Big bearish bar. There's plenty of room back to the midline if it's going to bounce there. And the bottom falls out. This turns out to be a really nice trade. Bottom falls out of it. We get a break here, new low. And once again, we're just kind of chopping around here. There's no way you want to go long right there into all that resistance. There's no reason to really go short there either, so it ends up pushing higher, and that takes us into 230. Just not much there. So not a lot of trades a day. This got really dicey here late in the afternoon. Like I said, you're really working sideways, but you're not. There's no real consistent. You got a little bit of consistent lows for a moment there that gives you a chance to go long. Same thing here. You got a little few consistent touches that on a triple test that give you a chance to go short. But for the most part, it's hard to trade that. You just have to trade these little trends, and there's no real setups on those. So it's always dangerous trading right in the middle of the range, especially when you're not going to either side, because it's eventually going to win out and going to try to go to one side or the other. And you can see the whole day it doesn't really win out on either side. It just trends lower for the most part, closes lower here. So not the greatest day, but there were some trades in here. You could still find your couple of trades fairly easily. You might have to be patient if you didn't find it, if you didn't trade this morning, you waited till the afternoon. But it's just kind of an inside day. It looks like a consolidation day, so that means we could still try to go a little higher. I mean, it's not like they're trying to sell it off yet. Doesn't look like it to me anyway. So anyway, I got through, got my son married off this weekend, got that behind me, and so hopefully, hopefully we'll have some smooth sailing in my family through the end of the year here, and we'll get ready for the holidays. I mean, believe it or not, it's already November, so Thanksgiving will be on us soon, and then Christmas and New Year's be here before you know it. So this year is almost behind us. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up today. Not much else we can talk about today, but we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.